Turn now to an attack during a high school track and field relay race. One runner hit another in the head with a baton. Janae Norman here with the story. Good morning, Janae.
Hey, George, this is a crazy video that you have to see. It's unimaginable, unsportsmanlike conduct on the track this morning. A high school track star is still recovering nearly a week after being hit on the head by another runner during a race.
It looks like we have ourselves a national controversy involving female sports, and the center of this controversy has nothing at all whatsoever to do with biological males playing in these female sports. Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about what went down at a track meet, a girls' track meet where they were sprinting, when one of the participants in this particular meet decided that it was appropriate to strike another one, on video by the way, with the baton repeatedly in order to knock them out of the track in order to win the race. And now, all of a sudden, because this race, of course, involves black people, even though the victim and the perpetrator happen to be black people, the family of the perpetrator are claiming evil white racism is at the cause of why their daughter is being smeared with these false allegations, or as the super mayor would call it, false allegations.
False allegations and not facts.
Now look, we're going to get into this story. We're going to break this whole thing down. We're going to talk about how ridiculous it is that this story is about racism, even though it involves no white people at all whatsoever. But that is the go-to defense in order to avoid any kind of accountability if you're a black person, apparently. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?
Junior Kaylin Tucker was running the second leg of the 4x200 relay in the Virginia State High School League Championships when the shocking incident happened.
That's when she hit me with a baton.
So look, I've decided that I'm going to have to pause the video, even though I don't believe that this should meet the threshold for YouTube's terms of service to deem it graphic violence and whatnot. But if you go to the Good Morning America segment that I have linked in the description under where it says sources, you can watch her strike her on the head multiple different times. The victim in this particular case dropped the baton, and of course it ends up concluding with her falling into the middle of the track. And yes, this all occurred when this young lady, who is being interviewed on Good Morning America, was passing the perpetrator in this particular incident. And as you can see, based on the video, it appears that everybody involved in this story is black. Every single person, the perpetrator, the victim, the side people that are also running in this particular sprint, all blacks, wall to wall, black people. Has nothing to do with white people, you would think. However, of course, even though maybe it's based on the fact that the baton was white, therefore evil white racism, the defending family is now claiming that the girl struck her, and if you're upset about it, it's because you're an evil white racist.
Watch again as you see the two sprinters running side by side as they round the corner with Kaylin on the outside, Kaylin's mother cheering her on. Just as Kaylin is passing the other runner, the athlete swings her baton, striking Kaylin.
I just felt a bang on my head, and then I fell off the track immediately.
Kaylin dropping her baton and reaching for her head.
The whole Coliseum pretty much gasped. I just jumped up out of the bleachers immediately and ran to her.
Now, of course, this is completely and utterly outside the bounds of what is appropriate in sports. The runner who did the striking was disqualified for her actions in the moment, and she should have been disqualified. And maybe you could make the case that this doesn't need to get to the level of a national controversy, because the fact of the matter is, these little petty incidents do happen from time to time, but they don't necessarily need to be elevated to the national stage. But since we're already here, it is very important for us to discuss this defense, this piss poor defense, which claims that white people are somehow responsible for this girl striking another girl who's passing her during a sprint.
On the main floor.
The 16-year-old was later diagnosed with a concussion. The family says neither the athlete who struck Kaylin nor the other team's coaches checked on Kaylin or reached out afterwards.
To see that they kept running and she not stop and check on my daughter, that was the part where I was like, it couldn't have been an accident.
Now look, there are injuries that can occur in every sport that you play. Let us be 100% clear about that. Concussions are a risk a lot of the time. And of course, if this woman would have been injured by a transit, Emma Vigeland would be tweeting about how her being assaulted on this particular course was absolutely hilarious. But in reality, you do not expect a concussion of this nature in sprinting, in women's high school sprinting. This is incredibly unusual, and again, we're going to hear from the defense of the black family that birthed this particular child that struck her in this video, and they're going to claim that this assault that essentially occurred in a stadium full of maybe 1,000 people, maybe more people, was somehow justified.
The other runner who attends IC Norcom High School has not been named. Kaylin's parents say Norcom's athletic director and the girl's father apologized in a phone call, but they're still waiting for the opposing athlete and her coaches to reach out.
We definitely want the coaches and a personal apology from the actual athlete as well, because it's only right.
So I will give credit to the father of the girl who did the striking for apparently being the only person with enough courage and enough integrity to apologize for his daughter's piss poor behavior. However, the girl hasn't apologized, none of the rest of the family, and of course the school that ended up training this girl that she was on the sprinting team for also didn't say anything in order to, nerf the negativity of what this girl did in this particular instance. Now, of course, this is completely outside the parameters of appropriate physical contact in the sport of sprinting, so maybe, just maybe, they're trying to lawyer up because this is an assault with a weapon. They gave this girl a concussion, and I feel absolutely terrible for this family right here who raised their girl right, who wants their girl to be successful as a sprinter, because she ended up suffering a concussion when it was absolutely unnecessary, all because she was better than the girl that she was passing in the sprint.
The Virginia High School League saying in a statement, "We thoroughly review every instance like this," adding, "The VHSL membership has always made it a priority to provide student athletes with a safe environment for competition."
Meanwhile, Kaylin's parents say that they're still waiting to see what disciplinary actions will be taken against the other athlete before deciding their next steps. In the meantime, guys, because Kaylin's been recovering for a week, they're hoping that she can finally return to school today.
I mean, again, we get a weak sauce statement from the Virginia Sports Authority that governs this particular body. I'm sure they have their processes in how they have to investigate, and you like the idea that they wouldn't succumb to public pressure and just rush to judgment. But if you're ever going to rush to judgment in any particular case, this would be it, because the video is so clear. Again, go to the Good Morning America segment, link in the description, if you don't want the choppy edited version that I have to put out for YouTube, because different rules apply to my channel than apply to other people's channel. However, eventually the fervor around this, the absolute anger that people had because this girl ended up missing school for a week because of her concussion, ended up reaching a boiling point, and now we have the perpetrating family coming out and claiming that they're the victims of evil white racism, and racists need to stop because they're so racist that therefore that their racism is the real problem.
Tonight, a Portsmouth family says they're telling their side of the story in reference to a shocking incident at a Virginia High School League indoor track meet that left one athlete allegedly injured after she claimed she was struck by a baton held by IC Norcom High School senior Alayla Everett.
Okay, so right off the top, I have major issues with the way that this local news segment is presenting this. They're saying, oh, tonight we're going to hear the other side of the story for this incident that allegedly happened, that is caught on video from multiple angles, that has been the subject of national media attention, about this girl who was allegedly injured by a non-sprinting move that allegedly occurred during this particular event. Again, either she had a concussion or she didn't. Either she missed school for a week or she didn't. It turns out she did. She wasn't allegedly injured. She was allegedly assaulted because the girl in question who did the assaulting has not been charged nor convicted at this moment in time, but she didn't allegedly get a concussion. Either she was diagnosed or she wasn't, but the local news media, because they got her side of the story, is pandering a little bit too much towards that direction, and I find that to be absurd. I find that to be insane. And again, the idea that the issue at hand here in this story that only involves black people, doesn't have anything to do with white people at all whatsoever, is evil white racism, is crazy, but that is the angle that they're going to go with.
Young athlete in question says there's more to that video than meets the eye.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right?
Listen. Everybody out there in the audience, I want you to understand that this girl is a high school senior. She is not a fully fleshed out adult. We all understand that. And honestly, I want to give her some level of grace, because in reality, the racism angle is probably something that her team that is on her side is pushing as a way to get her out of this. That being said, she gave a girl a concussion in a totally non-justified sprinting move during the course of of a sprint, it was wildly inappropriate. And she's saying, look, everybody's talking about her physical injuries, her serious concussion that she never should have received based on me striking her in the back of the head, basically a sucker baton strike during the course of a sprint that was wildly inappropriate. But nobody's thinking about my feelings. Nobody's thinking about how emotionally I was hurt by this situation. And again, I will point out, nobody gives a damn about your feelings. You assaulted somebody. This is ridiculous and absurd, and I don't want to go too hard on her because she is a girl. She might be 17 years old, maybe 18 years old. I don't really know at this moment in time, and I just don't want to hit her with all of that hatred because she can grow, she can move on from this. But the fact of the matter is, this is already not a good start. This is already not acceptable behavior. This is already a complete and utter lack of accountability for her actions.
They're going off of one angle.
Alayla visibly emotional because of this video from the meet. This was a 4x200 meter relay race, and she and a Brookville High School athlete were rounding a curve on the track when they nearly collided with each other.
Okay, after a couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit.
It appears intentional, but Alayla says it was accidental.
But I know my intentions, and I would never hit somebody on purpose. I didn't have to see the first video, second video, 10th video. I know 100% that she won't do this to nobody.
Her parents outraged at the backlash. The IC Norcom relay team was disqualified, a ruling that a local USA track and field official finds questionable. He says a play-by-play look shows that the Brookville athlete was running closely to Alayla.
If a person comes up on the outside, they got to be a full stride ahead of me before they can cut in front of me.
So I just want to point out for everybody out there in the audience that this is precisely why I don't want stories like this to necessarily be elevated to the national consciousness. And the reason for that is because right now we're getting from the family and from the coach some kind of sports related explanation for this. But the fact of the matter is, I do not buy into this, and I think the footage actually betrays them, because what they're saying is that the girl who was victimized in this particular incident was running too close in the adjoining lane to the striker in this particular incident. And the fact of the matter is, when you look at the video in the play-by-play, you actually see the opposite. You see that the person who's encroaching on the other lane is in fact this girl. Now, there may be some rule in sprinting that says this is perfectly okay, perfectly fine to do. It doesn't really matter to me, but the girl's explanation of her swinging her arms, and therefore it wasn't intentional, even though it looks incredibly intentional, is something that I would be willing to give a little bit of weight. Something that I would be willing to have a conversation about. But the fact of the matter is, it appears that the only person out of this entire group that actually reached out to the victim and apologized was the father right here. And normally what you would end up having is people hashing this out, people dealing with this, not going to a news segment to say that this girl was allegedly injured when either she had a concussion or she didn't. And it looks like, in my opinion, that this girl did strike her intentionally. However, again, I would be open to this explanation if not for the fact that the tail end of this segment is making it about the racist comments that this girl is supposedly getting.
The other family spoke with the news station in Roanoke asking for an apology from Alayla, something she wants to give, but she says the other athlete hasn't been receptive, blocking her on social media, and instead the Everett family was served with court papers.
And now we have to go to a city 3 hours away that everybody hates our guts already.
They're assuming my character, calling me ghetto, racist slurs, death threats, all of this just because of a 9-second video.
Now look, I'm in the camp of let the kids work it out, even though again this video looks like a clear and obvious assault. But the problem that I have with the family in this particular instance, other than the father, who supposedly is the only person to reach out and apologize according to the victimized family, is the fact that this girl didn't reach out to her, the coach didn't reach out to her in the moment when she was on the floor, when she was concussed, when she was injured, or anything of the sort. And only now that it's become a national story and she looks incredibly bad, it appears like the family cares. This is a bad look. If you have a situation like this, you don't wait for the video to go viral for well over a week. You actually engage with it, you get into it right off the top, and you end up acknowledging, even though the video absolutely looks terrible and there's no reason at all whatsoever for you to be striking this person, that it was your fault. You're the one who was in the wrong. You just didn't have the malicious intent. However, they waited and waited and waited up until the point where it became a viral news story, and that's when they decided to comment on it, when the family, you could have reached out to them in the moment, the coach could have said something in the moment, and they decided not to. Now look, with all that being said, I want to make something 100% clear to everybody out there in the audience. These are kids. We have a high school senior and a high school junior in this particular situation, and even though to me, the video looks like an assault, it looks completely intentional, and if you asked me to put money on the table, I would say that it was intentional. The fact of the matter is, it could have been a weird situation where this girl was in the zone or something of the sort, and she was just swinging with her running. Now, I don't think that is supported by how she was running and swinging the baton prior to this girl getting in front of her or anything of the sort, and also, I don't think that the explanation of she technically committed a lane violation during the course of the sprint justifies this particular action. So I don't want anybody to go out of their way to target this particular woman in the comment section, or I'm sorry, this particular girl in the comment section, or target the family, because obviously the family to a certain extent is going to have to defend her daughter, especially when people are talking about this on such a national stage. It was wildly inappropriate behavior, but we do not know what's in this person's heart or anything of the sort, and as of right now, we had this girl get disqualified, the other girl is on her way to recovery, so hopefully we end up with a positive resolution, but again, we should leave it up to them to adjudicate this, leave it to people who know more about sprinting than I do, because to me, this looks like a criminal assault, and if I were judging this based on my lack of knowledge, that's what I would say, and that's what I would want to hold these people to. But that being said, I would want to grant a little bit of grace because we're dealing with 16 and 17 year olds. Again, those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social media, support me via support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the sprinting assault. Till next time.